Okay, so in the last class we discussed about how do we prepare a mission statement for a new product. You want to develop a new product, you have some idea about designing a new product or developing a new product. So you want to start the design process by preparing a mission statement for the new product. That's what we discussed in the last class. So it conveys a vision for the new product and the project goals to the entire team. So that is the purpose of preparing a mission statement. And as a first step, what do you do for preparing a mission statement? What is the first step? Yeah, so you have some idea about developing a product, but then you need to get some information or you need to answer some questions to clarify your own vision or your own mission. So we'll start with a mission statement by asking technical questions. So that is basically known as the technical questioning. So we go for the technical questioning and then try to get the answers for these questions and use these answers for making the mission statement. So that's what we found in the last, or we discussed in the last class. So we ask many questions, as you can see here. So we'll try to find out what is the real problem and then what are the expectations, implicit expectation involved. That means there will be some basic expectation which may not be really told by a customer, but you need to understand what are the implicit expectations, and then what about the customer needs, they are appropriate, and then what avenues are open for creative design. So is there a way to address the design problem in a creative way, or can we do some kind of an innovation or innovative concepts for making the new product. Similarly, what are the avenues limited or not open for creative design? Some of the things you cannot really change, though you want to change them because of some reason it's not open for creative design, you may not be able to change it. Similarly, what characteristics the product should have, and then what characteristics it should not have, and what are the things which can be quantified at this stage. Some of the things can be quantified, like its weight or the size or the cost. Some of the things can be quantified. So what are the things can be quantified at this stage, and is there any bias exist within the chosen task statement? Are you seeing that there is something towards a particular direction, or you are actually biasing your design goals in a particular way? Is there any bias existing? If so, what are the biases? And what are the conflicts existing in the design task? Suppose you want to design an iron box. What are the requirements of an iron box? Any idea? You know, all of you know iron box, right? Yeah. What is the requirement that normally people will have in iron box? Pardon? Heating, okay. Okay, you know, basic things like, you want to have large force applied on the cloth, right? That is one requirement, because you want to remove the wrinkles, you have to apply some force on the, or the pressure on the clothes. And how do you increase that pressure? Either you press it or you have a heavy iron box. Any one of these. You can have a heavy iron box so that you don't need to apply a force. If the iron box is light, you have to apply force, right? So if you don't want to exert force, then you will make it very heavy. And when you make it very heavy, difficult to use it because you have to put more force on moving it. So there is a conflict. You want to have a heavy, you want to have very high pressure on the clothes, but you don't want this to be heavy. So you want it to be light, but at the same time, you want to apply large force on the cloth. So there is a conflict. You cannot do both, right? That is why there is a technical conflict in the design. For example, in the case of aircraft design, all the aircraft, they want it to be very light, right? The reason is that if it is heavy, you need to have large fuel, you need to have large force to be generated for moving forward. So you want it to be very lightweight. But when you try to make it lightweight, what will happen? The strength will come down, right? If you want to make the wing very light, then the wing strength will also go down. So there is a conflict. You want to make the aircraft lightweight, but at the same time, you want it to be strong also. So these are known as the technological conflicts. So in your design, is there any technical conflict or technological conflict you can identify at this stage is the answer for this question. Okay, so these questions force the design team to think critically, restate the design task in a more precise way for the project or subsequent currently under consideration. So that is subset currently under consideration. So before you start the design process, you ask these questions and try to get some answers. Not that everything you will get at the first stage itself, because this will go in an iterative way, but initially you try to answer these questions and then prepare a mission statement based on your understanding. That is basically the process by which you generate the mission statement. And we took some examples. So the mission statement will be something like this. You have the mission statement for a product. So whatever be the product, be it an iron box, bicycle, or whatever it is, and see what is the product description. So what actually you want the product to do, what that actually the product is trying to address, or what actually your design task is trying to address in this particular product. And then the business goals, what is the schedule, what is the approximate profit we are expecting, or what is the market share, and what kind of social needs it is trying to address. All these are basically coming under the business or humanitarian goals. Then you try to identify your primary market, who is going to be the primary customers for your products. And then not only primary, there may be some secondary customers also. We'll take an example and show this. And then what are the basic assumptions? Basically the assumption, these are coming from your technical questioning. Okay, what are the implicit expectations, what are the things that should have, what should not have, etc., etc. So these are coming under the assumptions. And then the stakeholders are those who are the primary people who will be involved in the whole process of design as well as the use of the product also. So that is basically the stakeholders. And then avenues for creative design. What are the things you can actually creatively design in this particular product? What are the things that can be that can have some kind of an innovative design? And what are the scope limitation? What is limited or you cannot change, really touch that one? That is basically known as the scope limitation. So basically you write all these things in a concise form, and that becomes your mission statement for the product. So whatever may be the product that you are trying to develop, this becomes the mission statement. And as you progress, you may modify the mission statement because you may get more and more insights, so you try to add more data. But before you start, you need to have some kind of an idea what you are trying to develop, and that is basically known as the mission statement for a new product. And then we took an example in the last class and tried to answer these questions to see how can we develop a mission statement for a new product or a redesign of a product. So we took this example of a nail clipper, which all of you are familiar, which you have used, and you have seen that this product has not changed over a long period of time. It is still almost the same shape, size, and features. Maybe some additional features have come. Suppose you want to redesign this product, or you are trying to develop a new product, either modifying this, or you are trying to come up with a completely new product which may do the same kind of job what the current product is doing. So that is basically the redesign project. So we ask these questions. So these are the technical questions that we discussed, and of course you can have additional questions depending on the product also. So what is the problem really about? And we found that this product has got a lot of issues. Basically the shape is straight. Our nails are not really straight. It's a curved one, but this one is not curved as our nail shape. And then the cutting force needed may be difficult. You cannot do with the left hand, right hand, left hand user is not that comfortable, and the nails will fly away. All those are the issues. The sharpness goes out, then you won't be able to use it for a long time. So there are like a lot of issues are there. So we can actually put all those things into one sentence, or you can actually specifically write everything together. So I'm simply writing it as the clumsy operation of a typical clipper. So you are having a clumsy operation. That is the main problem with the clipper. So you want to redesign it. And then what are the implicit expectations in this product development? Implicit expectations are the one which actually people will be always expecting that, even though they don't directly tell you, but there are some expectations. So they are basically, it remains as a manual clipper. You are not looking for an electronically activated or a mechatronic product where there will be force sensors, vision sensors, and all those things. You want to have a manually operated nail clipper which can be operated by oneself. You don't want someone else to use it and then cut your finger. You can use it yourself. So it becomes a very clear expectation of a customer. This is basically known as the implicit expectation. So they are expecting a normal nail clipper which can be used by a person without any another person's help. That is basically the implicit expectation. It has to be a manual one. It has to be used by a single person. And then the question is, are the stated customer needs, functional requirement, constraints truly appropriate? So you have started with some kind of an assumption of the customers, and then you are questioning again, are they really appropriate? So you need to answer this by, if you have done some kind of a survey or studies, then you have to say, oh, okay, many reported studies have noted clumsy operation. So I talked to many people, so many people have mentioned about the clumsy operation, so it seems to be a reasonable assumption. And detailed assessment will be made in post customer interview. So you will do a detailed analysis at a later stage. And then what avenues are open for creative design and inventive problem solving? Is there any avenue for you to be very creative? That is something which you can think of as a completely different one from the existing. So is there an avenue for creative problem solving? Then you can say that, okay, I think there are many avenues. So you can actually modify any or all parts. So all of this can be modified. You can get a completely new design, or you can have function sharing can be achieved, and similarly to store and dump nails. So these are all the areas or the avenues where you can have a creative design. So you can think creatively to add these things into the product so that it becomes a completely new product. So that is the avenue for creative design. And what avenues are limited or not open for creative design? That is the limitation on scope. So is there anything which you cannot really change or which not in the scope of your product development? So that actually in this particular case it means that, okay, you are not interested in electrical power, so it has to be a manual one. So don't think of a innovation using electrical power, electronics or anything. So that is not open in this case. And what properties must the product have? This is something which people will be expecting, some basic things like safety of operation, lightweight, and not very costly. These are the basic expectations the product people will be having: easy to use, durable, safe. So these are the basic expectations people will be having. It should not be very complex, it should be long lasting, it should be safe. So these are the product properties the product must have. And what product properties it should not have? It should not be bulky, it should not be very big, it should not be very easy to handle. So it should not be bulky, that is the product should not have a bulky size. What aspects of the design task can be quantified now? So what are the things you can quantify at this stage? Because you are still in the very beginning of the design, so many things are not known, but is there something which you can quantify now? For example, what should be the approximate weight? Can you quantify? What should be the approximate size? Can you quantify? What should be the force that should be applied to cut a nail? Can you quantify? Can you quantify the size of the nails, average size of the human nail? So these are the things which you can quantify at this stage. So statistical sample size and important ratings, and fingernail characteristics, human hand finger sizes, the strength of human finger or how much force is needed. So all these things can be quantified now because these things can be directly obtained from the public domain. So these things can be quantified. So that is basically the things which can be quantified. And the ninth question is basically a question which you may find a bit difficult. Do any biases exist with the chosen task statement? Is there any bias in the design task? So what do you mean by bias? Bias is towards one side, right? I mean, it's not really balancing with all things. It is towards some kind of inclination toward a particular thing. That is basically known as bias. Okay? So basically, when a mechanical person, engineer try to do something, he will always have bias towards mechanical components, mechanical design. The electrical person will try to make it more electrical or electrical oriented. That is known as bias. So in this case, you can see that one particular bias here is that it has to be a single person manual. So you are telling that, okay, I have bias towards a manual operation. So I'm not interested in any other things. It is a manually operated one. So no electrical or anything. So that is considered to be a bias. And you are actually talking about cutting the tip of the nail, not really removing the nail. So that is basically not a bias per se, but you are making it more clear that when you say nail clipper, you are just trying to cut the tip of the nail. So that is the bias. And is there any technical or technological conflicts inherent in the design task? As I told you, the conflict is basically you want to improve something, then something else goes wrong or that goes against it. That is basically known as technical conflict. So what kind of conflict will be there in this design? Because now you have mentioned many things in this. So what will be the kind of conflict you can think of? Any technical conflict you can identify? Okay, so if you make it more sharp, then it may be it may injure. But from looking at this, no, it should not be bulky. Adder functionality may make it more bigger. So if you try to add more functions like you want to have a store and dump nail, then it may become bulky, right? The size may go up, but you don't want this to be bulky. So adder functionalities may make it slightly bulky, or so that, these are basically the conflicts that you can identify. Yeah, but then we are telling that you don't want this to be electrical. I mean, that is the starting point. Okay, so you are saying that the remain as a manual clipper is the implicit expectation. Okay, so you don't want to touch that part, saying that, okay, see, we can actually design with a electrical battery or a 230 volt, an adapter or a solar. There are many ways you can do it. But if you do all those things, then your implicit expectation will not be met. So you say that, okay, no, I don't want to touch that part. Let me do only the other part of the design. So I'm limiting my scope to manual operation only. That's why we are saying that electrical power is not needed. Okay. See, you can also design something if this is not there. Remain as a manual clipper is not there, then you are opening the avenue also. Okay. So compact sizes versus large surface area for grasping and large mechanical advantage, because you want to have easy to operate. So you want large mechanical advantage, but then the size may go up. Similarly, adder functionalities may increase the size of it. So these are all known as anything. Okay. So these are all the technical questioning, and based on these technical questions and some other understanding of your design goals, you will prepare the mission statement. So the mission statement will be, okay, fingernail clipper product. So mission statement is basically for this product, and the product description is basically remove and file excess fingernail length. So that is the purpose of this product. You want to remove excess nail length using this product. And the key business goals, again, depending on the team's understanding, you will say, okay, you can take 6 months to develop the product, and you are expecting around 30% profit margin and 5% market share, supplements fingernail polish business. So these are the key goals that you are planning to achieve in this design process. It actually comes from the design team's own understanding, okay, how much profit margin you would like to have, how long it will take, things like that. And the primary market, who are going to be the primary thing. So basically, adults of all ages are primary targets, and focusing on fingernail polish users also. Okay, these can be used for polishing and giving beauty for the nails. And the secondary market could be the knife collectors, business executives who wants to travel and they want to keep one for always travel, and somebody with some collectors who want to have different kinds of products. So these are basically secondary market. So primary market is always the adults of all ages. And what are the key assumptions you have? It should be small. So this actually comes from your questioning, and compact storage volume, long life, These are all basically the assumptions that you have. And what are the avenues for creative design? Ergonomic shape, store capture nails, compact storage, ease of cutting. So all these places you can actually have innovative ideas. Innovative concepts can be used in order to improve all these features. You can think of a very nice shape or ergonomic shape which is not existing, or you can think of adding a nail store or capture mechanism so that the nails don't fly away, and compact storage that when you are opening it, it will be having a large volume, but you can actually storage it, fold it in a proper way, and then make it very small so that it can be stored very easily. That is known as compact storage. And ease of cutting. It should be easy to cut the nails. These are the things where you can actually have very creative design concepts. Yeah. Pardon? Oh, okay. So this is basically coming from your own as a business or a starting business. You'll be having an idea. Okay, what you want to achieve. So this is not from coming from technical question. This is the team will be having some idea. Okay, how long it will take to develop this? 6 months. And then what is the approximate profit you are actually expecting in this one? This is not from technical question, but more from a business perspective of the design team. Okay. And finally, the scope limitations. So you are saying that it can be only the materials or the steel and moldable plastics you want to use. You don't want to go for any other material. These are basically the scope limitation. And similarly, manual, to remain it as manual, no electricity. These are all come the scope limitations. So this becomes the initial mission statement for the product. Basically, to tell someone, oh wait, this is what we are trying to do, and these are the goals, and these are the scope limitations. These are the avenues where we want to contribute in the design of the product. So that is the mission statement for the new product development. Got it? Any questions? Okay. So what we'll do, we'll do a simple exercise. I hope all of you got the sheets. So we'll try to see how do we do a technical questioning and prepare a mission statement for a new product. All of you are using backpacks. Suppose you have to redesign this backpack or try to come up with an alternative product. Okay, whatever it is, either you redesign the product for some particular flaws in the design, or to meet the same purpose, you want to design a product. How do we actually develop the mission statement for this product? That is the question here. So you have to do the technical questioning and prepare a mission statement for the backpack. Okay, so please take the sheet and then write your name and roll number, and then answer these questions. And then you have to prepare the mission statement. So the first one side of the page you use for the questioning, question and answers. The second page you write the mission statement. Okay, you don't need to write the question, you can use the question here. So the first question is, what is the problem really about? You can write the answer for that. What is the problem with the existing backpacks? Or what is the reason for you to redesign the pack? Because you want to redesign this backpack, and you are redesigning because of some reason. Either you don't like the design, or you like to have a different way of using this.
Can we write our own questions like that?
No. Okay, you can write these questions and you can have additional questions. No problem. Okay? You already done it. You already did it. Okay, you can have these questions answered and you can have additional questions also. No problem. Okay? So you can have any additional questions. If you want to have additional questions, you can always do that. But please try to answer all these questions. Yeah. Oh, that you can actually make some assumption for the time being. Okay, 20%, 30% profit. And all other things you can write, okay, what is the humanitarian goal or what is the development time you may require. Those things you can make an assumption for the time being. See, normally it will be done as a team. So the team will be having some kind of an understanding of how much profit you should get, how long it will take to complete. So the first question, what is the problem really about? So please answer this. What is the problem with the current design of backpack? Can anyone tell me, is there any problem with the backpack? Yes, what is zip? Okay. If you put on one side, it will try to fall onto this side, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes you may lose this because everything looks same, and somebody will take it. So theft is an issue. Carrying, and sometimes taking objects from the bag also may become difficult depending on the type of objects, right? If you put books, lot of books, then water bottle, and then put some food stuff also inside, it may get squeezed inside, and then you may find it difficult to use or what. So this way, there are a lot of issues that you can actually identify with a backpack. So you can identify each one of these, or you can say, oh, this is the particular issue I am trying to solve. So that is the core issue in the problem. That is the core problem in the design of this backpack. So please answer that question and then go to the next one. What implicit expectations and desires are involved? What are the implicit expectations of this bag? Yeah, so basically you should be able to carry with you, right? You don't want someone else to come with carrying your bag, right? So the implicit expectation is that you should be able to use and you should be able to carry the basic stuff that you want to take with you. These are some of the implicit expectations. You are not expecting this to be a trolley which somebody will be pulling along with you. So you just want to carry with you wherever you go. That is the implicit expectation. Okay, so implicit expectation is something which you need to, depending on the product, it may vary. Each product will be having some implicit expectation. So if you are designing suppose a trolley bag that which can be pulled for travel, then the implicit expectations are different from a backpack. So that is what actually you need to understand, what is the difference in these implicit expectations. And the next one, are the customer needs, functional requirements and constraints are truly appropriate? So this is something which again you should be able to answer based on your own understanding, your discussion with your friends or others. So almost everyone agrees that there are issues. So your discussion with your peers or your friends, most of them confirm that there is a problem with the bag, and the exact details will be worked out later. That way you can write. So they are basically telling that you did some kind of an analysis and found that these needs are really an important need. So that is the third question. And the fourth one, and this depends on how creative you are. What avenues are open for creative design and inventive problem solving? What are the avenues that you can think of where you can be creative? Okay, so can actually the strap can be designed in a different way, or you can have a different way of arranging the what you call the compartments in the bag, so that the packing of things will be much more easy. That can be another avenue. Okay. Or you can have another kind of holding, because always the load comes on the shoulder. You can think of some other way of shifting the load to some other body part. So instead of having it at the shoulder, can you have some load coming onto the keep, I mean, something like that. So you can be creative in sharing the load or distributing the loads in the human body or the shoulder. That can be another avenue where you can think of. You can have some kind of safety mechanism. You can be creative in coming up with a kind of safety mechanism where you can prevent the theft of bag or losing your bag. Not always theft, but sometimes by mistake people will take the bag assuming that it is their bag. So how can we actually avoid that? That can be a creative, you can have a creative thinking in that direction. So this you can actually write whatever the things you feel that it is possible. Okay, you have to submit it back to me after the completion of this. So please write it and then. And what avenues are limited or not open for creative design? Yeah, so you are not looking for a hard, I mean, you have to increase the load. I mean, you have to make it safe and it should not break, it should not damage. But that does not mean that you can actually change all these to plastic or something. So you want it to be a flexible one which can be easily carried. So you are not making it as a trolley bag. So that is the limitation that you are trying to tell. So I don't want this to be a trolley bag with the wheels and other things, but it has to remain as a backpack or a bag which can carry things, and there should be enough flexibility for you to add and to carry with you. So use appropriate sentence to write down that part. What avenues are limited or not open for creative design? Next one, what characteristics, properties must the product have? Okay, yes, it should have enough compartments for holding objects or holding things. It should be durable. I mean, it should have a good life, right? It should not get damaged within 2-3 weeks. So it should be durable, and it should not be very bulky. It should be lightweight. The bag itself should not be very heavy, because if you try to put more things, it will become very heavy. I mean, more features, then it will become very heavy. So you don't want it to be heavy. It should be lightweight. It should have enough compartments. It should be durable. It should be, the cost should be low cost, whatever, depending on the type. It should be a affordable cost. What characteristics, properties must the product not have? What is it? What characteristics the products not have? Pardon? Louder. Okay. So basically, you are telling that you don't want to make it very complex design, right? Okay. So it should not be complex for use, right? Okay. So simple design you want, yeah. So the product should not be complex to use, and it should not be dangerous for the user. I mean, you design in such a way that it actually hurts something else. I mean, your body in some other way it injures. So it should not be. It should be safe to use. So it should not create injury to the user. These are the things you don't want the product to have. Okay, what aspects of the design task can be or should be quantified now? What can be quantified now? Yeah, so what will be the average or the maximum load that you should carry? What would be the approximate size of the bag? And how many compartments you would like to have preferably? So these things can be quantified. It need not be always that you will follow it always, but these are the things which can be quantified. how much weight it should carry, what should be the approximate size, and what should be the self weight of the bag. Also, that also can be quantified, saying that okay, it should not be the total weight of the bag should not be more than a particular value. So these things can be quantified. Okay, so do any biases exist with the chosen task statement or terminology? Has the design task be posted at the appropriate level of abstraction? So is there any bias in the design, all design we talked about? Do you think there is a bias? Yeah, so we are always talking about somebody carrying it in the bag, right? So you are actually saying that, okay, I'm talking about a bag which can be carried by a person. So we are not talking about anything else. We are not talking something where you can have a cycle and then put all your bag, put stuff in that one and then come with to the take it with you. So we are not talking about that kind of a stuff. We are talking about something which can be carried by the person to go wherever he wants. So that is basically the bias. You are not trying to design something which can actually carry load and then reduce your efforts. So that is the bias here. You are actually looking for something which can be carried by an individual where he can have all the stuff put into that bag. So that is the bias in this case. Of course, you may find this difficult to answer all these questions now, because once you start thinking in these lines, then you will know, okay, how do we actually answer these questions? Because there can be multiple ways in which can approach the problem. So that multiple ways will actually reduce by having these kind of assumptions. So like, for example, you can think of a very sophisticated safety mechanism for your bag. But you are telling that, oh, no, I'm not talking about all those things. I'm looking for a simple, single person use bag which can actually carry stuff and provide solve all the problems what are actually mentioned here. So that is the way how you limit your scope to or it will actually narrow down your design task to a particular direction. That is the objective here. And is there any technical or technological conflicts inherent in the design? Is there any technical conflict you can identify? Yes, when you are trying to increase the compartment, the size will go up. And when the size goes up, your weight will go up. Okay, these are actually conflicts. So you cannot increase the number of compartments as you wish, because then the size will go up. And when the size goes up, the weight also will go up. So these are technological conflicts. And you try to add a feature to improve the safety, that also may lead to an increase in size and weight. So you need to see that there is a conflict here. So the job of the designer is to see how to address this conflict in an innovative way, so that you will get a good design. All right, once you have done this, the next task is basically to prepare the mission statement. Okay, so the mission statement will be like this. So you have to write the mission statement, the products, then what is the description of the products, what are the humanitarian goals, primary market, secondary market assumptions, avenue for creative design, and scope limitations.